It's Saturday, 11th of October 25, and I'm looking at the council by-elections this week because it's a chance for the local people to have a referendum on how Britain's doing. Some of them may be voting on local issues, but I don't know. But this is for the 9th of October, mainly last Thursday. One was on the Wednesday, so let's take a look at them. Personally, I'm looking at them from one scenario. Basically, the first thing in the top here at 57%. Everyone should join YouGov, and when they ask you what three things are you bothered about, if you're only bothered about one, like me, just pick that one. Don't pick any other, because you'll dilute the answer. So, yeah, we've got the purple line here. We're at 57% at the moment. So, there it is there. I'm not saying it because YouTube might not like it, you know. It used to be economy that always led, you know, but personally, either we're heading for utopia or anarchy. It depends on your thing, mate. So, if you do think we're heading for anarchy, then you need to vote against it, you know. There was 7 this week, 7 by-elections. The first one was on the Wednesday in Yeatley West. I don't know where this is. And the Lib Dems were defending, and they held it. I'll just briefly look at them first of all. And then we've got Whitehaven, wherever that is. Sounds like sort of southwest or something, maybe near Bristol or something. I don't know. But Conservatives were defending, Reform won it. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of that one issue. So for now, I'm saying to everyone, vote Reform, even though they're not that good in it. They are getting better. Advance will be even better when they come along. I think Advance are plan to stop it in day one until we find out what the hell's going on. That's the words I think Ben used. But for now, vote Reform on it anyway. That's the only way. So looking at these other ones, we've got West Lancashire. It was a Labour hold, but a local party got it. For me, it's frustrating that people are voting for local parties at this point in the country's existence, you know. I think it's too important. You need to vote on one issue, really. And the next one, Tainbridge. I get a feeling that's down Devon, I don't know though. It was a Conservative area, but now it's a Lib Dem again. And Redcar in Cleveland, it was a Conservative defending, now it's Reform very easily. That's in the northeast of England. And in Northamptonshire, we've got Reform defending, and they held it as well. So, and looking at the Sparth and North East Somerset seat, Wildcombe, Lib Dems held it, and it's a Lib Dem hold. Okay, let's start looking at them. So Lib Dems held it. Oh, by the way, this is the Nowcast website, which is a fantastic website. Well, it's the best there is. I mean, it could be better, but the government should have something like this, you know, but they're still living in the pre-internet times, really, for most of their stuff. Apart from when the politicians personally, in their personal life, they'll be using the internet all the time. But when it comes to people wanting to know about the government, you know, they're in the early 2000s, you know, all their information. They probably even think that people still watch Parliament, you know, rather than Nigel Farage doing a press conference, you know. So, yeah, the Lib Dems won it, but they're down, so they're 11.8. But so we're really looking at Reform, really. That's what we want to see. So they're straight in at 11.9% they've made. I don't know about the others. Labour increased here. I don't know why. 12.2%. The Greens, they're up just slightly, 15.4, but they're doing quite well. I'm guessing these will be independents. 4.8, that's a new one. 2.6. Conservatives, 8.6, they're down 12.8. So that's no surprise there, really. And the turnout was 35%, which is a lot. So a lot of people come out, because for these council elections, it's so hard to vote in them, especially because it's on a working day. People won't know they're on, etc. So for 35% of people that come out, that's a lot. Usually they're around about the 20s, you know. It should be done by e-voting, and then everyone, including the workers, can easily vote. And you could change your mind in the last minute. But that's not the way the government or opposition parties are currently thinking. You know, they're thinking, we want you to go to some sort of place, and you need to be aware it's happening as well, and it's going to be in a working day or a school, whatever. That's it. And Reform are actually they want that even more. Apparently, nobody seems to want e-voting. Maybe the Greens, I don't know, but yeah, e-voting. If you want people to think me, I mean, everyone should vote, even if it's just to spoil your vote, because by spoiling it, you're showing you're actively don't want to vote for anybody, and you're not happy with the electoral system, which I think is archaic. You know, first past the post is the worst system in a lot. It's undemocratic. We should have direct democracy, like referendums all the time. We get away from party hampers, you know. So this place in Bath. So usually I would look up the demographics of this place, of these places, but it's taking too long, you know. I'm guessing that area's not changed that much so far. So on to the next one, Northamptonshire. Reform were defending this and they held it, and I think they maybe got elected in May. Let's see, I think they increased their vote. They're now up to 38%. The turnout was 22.8%, so that's sort of normal. Probably just old people really voting, really. Let's see, Labour, they're down. It looks like at one point they might have been the ones who held this seat, possibly forever. And then Reform maybe won it in May. And now the councillor's resigned or whatever, or in bad health. So Labour are down. And then we've got the Greens. The Greens have come up 9.7. So maybe this area's changed slightly. Maybe it could be to do with the Middle East, we don't know. Or maybe people are just interested in Zach Polanski, who's the new leader of the Greens, and he's sounding more socialist than Jeremy Corbyn, etc. You know, because I've always thought that socialists should be voting for Greens for about 20, 25 years. Oh, longer than that actually, 35 years. But it feels that Labour, the far left, have always voted Red because they're idolisers. They idolise certain people, you know, like Tony Benn, Jeremy Corbyn. You know, because I find Jeremy Corbyn really boring. At least Zara Sultana's got a bit of life in her, you know. But really, for me, for socialists, the all round it would be Greens. But I don't believe in party hampers. I've voted Green in the past until I saw the light on how the country's changing. Now only voting one issue. I would vote Reform or Advance, really. So I'm just looking at this. Yeah, Labour are way down. Greens are up. Lib Dems up 1.5%, but not really significant. Tories down, so they're out of it, really. And Reform, they've increased their vote. And a lot of Reform councillors seem to have either resigned for whatever reason. I'm guessing it's not poor health. I'm guessing they didn't expect to get voted in, or they didn't know what it'd be like. They've never been politicians before, and they just, once they're in, they just either don't want to do it or they can't handle it or whatever, which is fair enough, you know. Personally, I see these as mini referendums, so I'm not really bothered, you know, about the local issues. So for me, it doesn't really matter. I've heard that Advance aren't going to be standing any councillors because they just want to focus on MPs, etc. That's fair enough, but at the same time, these are weekly polls for the governments. You know, they can see how the people are voting because these are real votes. You know, you're maybe voting on your local issues, but a lot of people are voting on how they feel about the nation. On to the next one. Redcar in Cleveland. So this is up in the northeast. That seems to have gone totally Reform, that area, which is great to see because it used to be totally Labour, I think. So well done to the northeast. They've seen the light, you know. I know that the Labour Council are probably a sanctuary, welcoming city, you know, especially for the dispersal operation over the last 25 years that Labour brought in and the Tories continued. Glasgow was another one, so I think that will go totally Reform as well. So here we go, Reform gain So who's it from? Let's see. I mean, well, this is their first time standing here, and they get 65%. The turnout was 38%, so that's really big for a council by-election. They're usually in the low 20s. So a lot of people turned out and they voted Reform. So that is a big statement from the North East, really. And it looks like this used to be a Tory area, Skelton East, and the Tories are down 30%. You know, and the Tory conference was this week as well. I didn't watch it myself. I don't really watch the conferences anymore, apart from Reform, really. Maybe a bit of the Greens. I watched a bit of Labour just because they're in power. If they weren't in power, I wouldn't watch. And Labour down 10%, so they're down from 29. So Reform straight in it's with 65%. I think this is the highest I've had anywhere. So it's really showing you, you know, how the North East feels, I think, even if it was a Tory area. Yeah, that's really big. And on to the next place, Teignbridge. And this is a Lib Dem gain from the Tories. And I'm guessing this area hasn't changed that much over the last 75 years or whatever. Not yet, anyway. I think the Tories around about 2023. The dispersal thing used to be a voluntary thing, so cities could volunteer, and I'm guessing a lot of Labour cities and SNP cities volunteered. Maybe Plaid Cymru as well, I don't know. But possibly the Lib Dems haven't. But in 2023, apparently Rishi Sunak changed that so that the dispersal is for everyone. The local council can't stop it, as far as I know. So that's how it's going at the moment. Yeah, so the Lib Dems are up 11. So this was a Conservative area. No, Reform are straight in at 23%, so that's pretty good. Tories are down 20%, so to 9.6%. So they were right about 28% there. So yeah, the Lib Dems done well here. The Greens are a small thing. Maybe Labour is small here as well. So maybe it looks like the Labour and Green voters voted tactically, the Lib Dems, so that Reform wouldn't get in, basically. Yeah, so turnout 31%, so really big, quite big again, really, for a council election. And they had an independent in there, 8.2%, and the Tories right down. Okay, that's Teignbridge. On to the next one. This was a Labour area, and now it's a local gain. I think this is our West Lancashire or something party. And I think it's sad to see locals gain at this time, because it's so critical what's happening in the country. I mean, Ben Habib says that 2029 is probably the last chance we have to save the country, basically, because I'm sure Keir Starmer won't have the election to 2029. I don't think he'll be in, no. I think Labour will remove him, because I don't think he's popular with anyone, even his MPs or cabinet. So, yeah, let's see what's happened here. Labour went right down. It was a Labour area, down 21%. And how's Reform come in? They've come straight in. Well, no, 24%, so they're up 18%. So they're big there. Maybe when the local goes, Reform will get in there. Tories are down 8%, so their Lib Dems are nowhere here, really. The Greens are nowhere as well. So this independent, I don't know what they're up to. I'm presuming this is an independent that's non-identity and they're for everyone in the area, you know, because we're going to have a lot of, quote, independents that seem to be identity based, and really the vibe is a word of mouth, how they're getting voted in the first place. A lot of people won't be part of that word of mouth, you know. So, but I think here it's probably a genuine one, but I don't really know. On to the next one, Whitehaven, I don't know where this is, and it's a Reform gain, so they've got the message. Yeah, well done. 36% turned out here. Last place was 30.4%, so these are high, very high. So a lot of interest here. It was a Conservative area, so you could say this is maybe an old Tory type area, but they've seen the light and they've voted Reform. So whether they've changed demographically, we don't know yet, but 43%, so that's pretty high, you know. The Tories, they're down 35% to 20%. And there's Labour are tiny here. They're down 25%, so I don't know what's going on there. And the Greens are, well, they didn't stand a candidate before, but they did this time. Maybe they didn't stand one the last time to let Labour in, try and get Labour to get in. But this time they've stood a candidate and they've got 26%, so the Labour vote there seems to have really just went for the Greens, really. I don't know, but and the Lib Dems used to have a bit of thingy here, but they're down 10.8, so they're insignificant. Looks like there was another, and there was another, other. Yeah, so that's interesting. So Reform came, well done. It was a former Tory area. And the last one of this week, was there another one? No, this was 8th. This was held on Wednesday. I'm really glad that some are held on a Wednesday. That makes a change. Personally, I think they should all be held on a Saturday and Sundays to get maximum turnout, you know, but I'm not bothered about that. So the turnout was 30%. That's, well, just reasonable. It's a Lib Dem hold. It was Lib Dem. So I'm guessing this area hasn't changed that much. But the Lib Dem is right down all the same. They're down 20% to 54%. And Reform are straight in. They're new and they're in at, say, 28%. So they're really big here. And the Tories are down 7.5%. No Labour. Maybe they just didn't stand. Or Greens. Maybe to let the Lib Dems straight in. I don't know. But there we go. So it's still a good week for Reform, even though they didn't win all the seats. I think everyone should be voting Reform, especially if you vote Green, SNP, Labour, and you're worried about the country. You know, it's either going to be a utopia like they say, or the other spectrum is anarchy. You know, I think you should treat it as a referendum at the moment, really, how you feel. So, and let's see what's coming up next week. It looks like there's 10 next week. We've got Broadheath and Trafford. Personally, I think this will probably go to Reform. I'll maybe make this into a different thingy. So we've got Trafford, we've got a Lib Dem one, Tandrew, Guildford and Surrey. This is a local's got that at the moment. Caterham and Surrey is a Lib Dem at the moment. Camberley and Surrey. What's that? Conservative. Staines and Spelthorne, that's a Green at the moment. And we've got a North Ayrshire one. This will be interesting. It's SNP at the moment. I think that'll go to Reform, personally. Reigate and Spanstead, Lib Dem at the moment. And Ashton and Preston, it's Labour at the moment, a solid Labour place. I think it'll go to Reform, but I don't know. Anyway, I might do another video about these ones. Okay, bye.